The Pokemon DLC number 2, the Indigo disc, will drop later tonight, probably sometime tomorrow if we're unlucky, but there's a couple of things that you're going to want to make sure you do before you play the Indigo disc. So what's up everybody, Trent from Trentendo here. Today we're going to walk you through a couple of things that you need to make sure you get done before you play the Indigo disc tonight or tomorrow. So before we hop into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so you guys are kept up to date with everything going on here at Trentendo. Let's see if we can get 20 likes on this. It really does help, I appreciate it. And without further ado, let's hop right in. Now first up, the first thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do is actually play the Teal Mask. You are not going to be able to access the Indigo disc, part 2 of the DLC, until you complete the Indigo, or until you complete the Teal Mask. So if you haven't done that yet, it doesn't take a ton of time. It is a little lengthy, probably 2-ish hours would be my guess, maybe a little longer. But that, at least that's how long it took me. I zoomed through it the last couple of days. I had played it on Violet. I wanted to play it on Scarlet, so I finished that on Scarlet up just this morning actually. So we're ready to go on our Scarlet game as well. So if you haven't done so, that's the first thing you're gonna want to make sure that you do, is to actually just beat the DLC part 1, the Teal Mask. Just kind of go through the first couple story missions. Don't worry about actually capturing all the legendaries and stuff like that. Like once you get to the final battle with Carmine, you'll have to catch Ogerpon. And once you've done that, battle Carmine, and that should be as far as you need to get the Teal or the Indigo disc unlocked. Now the next thing though is this is a lot more for people who maybe aren't very familiar with VGC or haven't played a lot of double battles. Maybe they've just kind of played a lot of online or just the traditional Pokemon experience. I kind of fell into that until the last couple of years, towards the end of Scarlet or towards the end of Sword and Shield. I really liked Pokemon. I played all the games. I never really dove into the EV, the IV training. So we wanted to give you a quick little breakdown because it does seem like the Indigo disc is going to really be hard on double battles. So if you're not familiar with some of these EV and IV things, it can make it a little bit more difficult. So today I just want to kind of hop into some of these so that you can get ready for the Indigo disc. Now first up, let's just hop into our boxes. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown. I'm still finishing up my Teal Mask Pokedex. So let's go over here to my raid Pokemon. So first up, let's just go into Iron Hands. So we're going to check our summary here. So first up, if you come over here, you're going to see this little hexagonal thing on the left showing your attack stats, your HP, defense, speed, special attack, and special defense. So if you back out you'll see that same chart on the right here. You'll see everything is hyper trained. So that means this, the first thing we'll kind of talk about is our IVs, our inherited values, I think is what it's called, stands for. Basically, this is what makes one Pokemon better than the other that is in the wild. So, maybe you have 2 Iron Hands, one might be a little bit stronger, and it's going to be because of these IVs values. So this one, obviously, when I caught this shiny, nothing was the best. Everything was either, I think pretty good, I think is the last, so it's pretty good and then below to no good at all. So all of its stats none of them were the best. But if you go over to this, you'll see this Annihilate. We've got special attack and special defense were already the best. This one was caught in a raid, so it already had some of the better stats, and I've only had to hyper train a couple of them. But this had to hyper train everything. So if you haven't hyper trained anything yet, you're going to need bottle caps. So if you come over here, you can check if you have them there in this candy pocket. I think it's at the bottom. I could have gone the other way. Let's see. Yes, bottle cap. So here, I'll move the camera. So I've got 26 bottle caps and 4 gold bottle caps. So a bottle cap, that's going to be able to adjust one stat to be the best. A gold bottle cap will adjust so it'll make one Pokemon perfect essentially. So as you're thinking about, what Pokemon you want to use, the first thing you kind of want to think about is this IV value right here, this inherent value. So depending on your strategy, what do you want? Do you want everything to be the best? In a lot of cases, you are going to want everything just to be as high as actually possible. There are a few instances where you might want, speed in particular to be low. So like this Torkoal right here, if you run a Torkoal, typically you usually use Trick Room because they're such a slow Pokemon. Like look at its speed stat, it's already super low, and that's with a decent. So typically, I wouldn't even want to run this Torkoal particular because the IV is too good. You want something that's actually no good. You're going to want that Torkoal to be as slow as possible to work really, really well under Trick Room. So depending on what your strategy is, you might not actually want to have a Pokemon with the best IV. You might want to take the time to, find something that really has, the IV you're looking for. You can use this. A lot of people do this through breeding. You can just try to catch a ton. But that's just in very specific instances. Typically, from my experience, you're probably going to want to have a lot of these just be as high as possible, especially in just the DLC if you're not really focused on, VGC or ranked battles. The next value or the next stat we need to really look at. So if you come into here, you check our summary. So as I mentioned, we have our EVs, our IVs. We also have our EVs. So if you click L, it'll show you what your EVs are, or your EV spread. So with this Iron Hands, I went with HP and attack. So I built this specifically to do raids. So I want my attack to be as high as possible, so I'm doing as much damage. All of the moves that Iron Hands typically uses are physical attacks. So you're gonna want to make sure you double check that as well. So if you go to your moves, you can remember your moves. And this little thing in the bottom left, right by Link's head on this, it's gonna show you what type of attack it is. So that's a electric train. So there's not really, so that symbol right there is more of like a status move. This right here, focus punch. So that little symbol, like the punch, like the kabow on a comic book, that is for a physical attack. So all of his attacks right here that I'm running are physical attacks. But if you come down, let's see if he's got, I don't even know if he has a special attack. So he doesn't even have a special attack right here that I'm seeing. So let's go back. Let's go to Miraidon. I keep pushing move. So if we check his summary here. So if we remember moves, so this move right there, like the swirls, the three circles, those are your special attack moves. So you're gonna want to make sure. So going back here, so Miraidon is a special attacker. So I've skewed my IV or my EVs towards special attack and towards speed because I want this Pokemon to attack fast, attack first, and then to also hit him really hard with its special attack moves. So you're going to need to really think about what move sets are you wanting to run on these Pokemon. Is it a special attack? Is it an attack? And maybe you want it to be more defensive, so maybe you want to lean into the special defense, or maybe you want to leave defense or HP, depending on whatever your strategy is. The other thing you can do is you see these little arrows on when I click L, or even this little red and this little blue arrow on special attack and attack. So special attack, the arrow is pointing up, and the attack arrow is pointing down. So this is because I used I think it's an adamant mint. So all these mints that you've got, you can actually use them to tweak your nature, and this will affect those stats. So since it's a special attack, I want that special attack to be up as high as possible. So that mint, it increased that, but it decreased my attack. But that's okay because none of the attacks that we are going to use are actual based off the attack stat. So we can, give up some points there in order to really boost our special attack. So that's kind of your EV and IV training at the best. So the way you can do, as I said, you do IV training is through hyper training, with those bottle caps. And the way you can do EV training though, the easiest way is if you go to, those drug stores. I can't remember what it's called. That you buy, you buy these vitamins. You get protein, iron, carbos, calcium, and zinc. Now each of these are gonna attribute to a different stat. I think it's like 26 is going to make the stat perfect. So if I have a Pokemon that I have not trained at all, I want to get up and I want that special attack stat to be really high, I'm going to use 26 of these calciums. Maybe I want that speed. If we were making that Miraidon we were looking at, we could use 26 of the speed, and then you're going to have like one left over. So then you can use up one left if maybe you just want to make sure you're a little bit more bulky. So you give it an HP, or maybe you want it to be a little bit more defensive. You can give it an iron or a zinc. So that's going to be the easiest way to do it. They are expensive, so if you don't have a lot of money in game, it can make it difficult. The other thing you can do is defeating specific Pokemon in battle will give you that IV. So like if you go over to my Shiny Hunter, I've used this to just hunt shinies, this Breloom, in order because it's got Spore, it's got False Swipe. So if I go over here, you can see my IVs are kind of all over the place, and it's because I've defeated enough Pokemon with it that it's, depending on which Pokemon you get, they are assigned to a specific stat. So there's lots of resources out there. I don't know everything off the top of my head, but like if you defeat a specific Pokemon, it'll give you X amount of points towards that specific stat that Pokemon is assigned to. So if maybe you, like let's say for example, Psyduck will give you points towards your special attack. So if you go and defeat 12 Psyducks, it'll give you X amount of points towards your special attack for your IVs. So it takes a little bit more time to do it that way, but you don't have to have the money, which is a nice way to do it. And maybe you're bored and you just want to go train some Pokemon. That's a great way to do it. And now the other thing you got to think about is your held items. If you go over to your bag, you're going to have all of your held items. You can get these at Deliberate Presents too. If you've been doing raids, if you've been watching a lot of raids, you probably know a lot about held items. You've got stuff like your Shell Bell, which are going to give you restore HP that you've inflicted. You've got Life Orb, which is going to make your attacks just hit a little bit harder. Your Focus Sash will keep you from getting one-hit KO'd. You've got like Soft Sand, which will boost ground type moves. So I think there's Light Clay, which is one I remember. I can remember. I don't see it here. That'll like make your light screen and your reflect last a little longer. We got Assault Vest, make your special defense a little bit stronger. Weakness Policy, so if you get hit by maybe your fire type, you get hit by water, it's gonna make your best attack and your special attack gonna get boosted. So there's a lot of different types of stuff that you can do. So again, depending on your strategy, depending on the Pokemon, you're gonna want to make sure you adjust it and have every Pokemon that's in your party has a held item. That's gonna really help you as well during these double battles. And then the last thing is just, make sure that you are pairing Pokemon together that are going to make sense. If you want to have a strategy, you're going to want to make sure your team, aligns with that strategy. Maybe you want to use Charizard, so maybe you build a team around that specific Pokemon. So if you really know you want to use Charizard, I know like people, you either love him or you hate him. I'm a big Charizard fan. So, maybe you want to use Torkoal. So maybe you throw in a Torkoal to be able to set up the sun. Bring in that Charizard to be able to use Heat Wave. Maybe use like a flamethrower or whatever the case may be, whatever fire type move you want to use. Maybe you want to use water types, so maybe use a Pelipper to bring in the rain. So maybe if you do want to bring Torkoal, so if you're bringing Torkoal and Charizard too, going back to that example, maybe bring in a Farigiraf so you can use Trick Room, or maybe you bring in some other Trick Room user that can get it off a little bit quicker. So there's going to be a lot of different strategies to use. To be able to toy around with stuff, find Pokemon that you like, build a team around it. That's the whole point of this too, is to have fun. So if don't necessarily go and think you have to build the most competitive team. It'd be a little bit more difficult, but I think as long as you've trained your Pokemon up, if you have gotten your IVs and your EVs where you want, you're having held items, I think you're going to be able to kind of play around with some teams and kind of really experiment with some stuff, and even experiment with pairings that you can't see online in a ranked battle. Maybe you, like one thing I'm really excited to use is a Walking Wake and a Koraidon. I think that's going to be fun. Koraidon's going to come in and set the sun. Walking Wake's going to be able to come in and, that photosynthesis is going to be set up for him. So he's going to be hitting a little bit harder. You got Hydro Steam being able to hit pretty hard in the sun then. You're also going to be able to have access to some fire moves with, like he has Flamethrower. So now you got the sun up, you got photosynthesis, and you're hitting with Flamethrower. So I think there's going to be a couple of really fun things that you're going to be able to try that we haven't been able to do online, either through the VGC or through ranked battles or stuff like that, because you're going to have access to some of these Pokemon and just some unique teams that we're going to be able to try out. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments what Pokemon are you most excited to use. I'm super excited for this DLC. I think it'll be fun, and I'm excited to kind of, like I said, try out some of these unique combos and unique teams that we might not have seen, in the past. And just enjoy this DLC. We don't get a ton of Pokemon games, brand new stuff like this. At least, this will be a fun experience. I'm excited to shiny hunt some of the starters, stuff like that as well. So hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video on your way out. It really does help. I appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments what teams you're looking forward to use. What are you most excited to do in DLC number 2? And until next time, catch you later.